I'm Jeff Hunt. He's Bill Thorpe. Can you hear that, Bill?
Everybody in the back, get your lighters.
I can't. Bill, I can't stand the neighbor's dog barking, let alone every night having to listen to whatever band showed up at the nearby amphitheater and hearing it so loud at 9 o'clock at night that you can essentially hear some of the lyrics. Let's go to John Corbliss. Let's go to audio track number 2, if you can. Billy's like singing along. You know what song that is, right?
I'm curious. The artist, I think I know.
It's
I'm not
Dwight
sure.
Yoakam, right? I think that's Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I can't pick the song out, but I know some of the lyrics. Yeah.
This
is like Teenage Bill's dream.
Single night. Yeah. Well, I got a home you may want to buy. But for the neighbors,
minds.
but for the neighbors that don't want to hear that all the time, it's every single night on your back porch, your front porch, having to hear that. And we're going to talk
with
the
problem.
plaintiffs.
When's the bad thing happen?
Yeah, right.
No, I'm kidding.
We're going to talk with the plaintiff suing to try to rectify this problem here in a second. Now it's time, though, for the news.
Blake Olson, news and comment.
Hey, good Wednesday morning, 39 and sunny. Beautiful morning, 40 in the Springs, expecting highs in the low 50s today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning. For a new home heating and cooling system, contact your Lennox dealer, Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at pastorcamp.com. Conditions apply. See dealer for details. Our top story.
We can come up with an agreement, like you said, body cams. I've never met, actually, an honest police officer who doesn't want a body cam. It protects them. It protects the 99.9% of good law enforcement officers who are out there.
Congressman Jeff Crank in studio with the fellas last hour in the Springs. We're in another ridiculous partial shutdown in D.C. A couple of the issues, body cams and masks on ICE. Hey, we're all for body cams.
It also exposes that 0.1% who's really bad, and that's what we want. Everybody wants that. I was sort of aghast that we didn't have body cams on every single ICE agent. We appropriated $25 million in the One Big Beautiful Bill to do that and provide it. They just haven't been deployed yet. We need to get to that.
And then there's the mask issue.
I wish we didn't have to have face masks on police officers, but when you have people running around trying to interfere with law enforcement by doxing them and trying to expose their families to risk, I also want to protect our law enforcement officers too.
Yep. Seems like common sense if you're getting attacked and doxed by paid protesters on the left. A deadly chain reaction crash involving 36 vehicles shut down I-25 near Pueblo on Tuesday. 4 deaths and 29 hospitalizations that involved 36 vehicles were reported. The crash was triggered by a severe wind and low visibility conditions. Southbound lanes were reopened by mid-afternoon, but northbound I-25 remained closed late into Tuesday evening as crews continued to clean up and the investigation continues. At least 9 skiers are missing after an avalanche hit Tuesday near Lake Tahoe in California. 15 were involved. Of those, 6 have been rescued and the other 9 remain unaccounted for. They're still looking for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie in southern Arizona. The DNA found during the search does not match any records in the FBI's national database. Stephen Colbert and CBS are going back and forth over an interview with a Texas lawmaker that the Late Show host says he was told he couldn't air. CBS issued a statement to The Hill explaining that the late show was, quote, provided legal guidance that the broadcast could trigger the FCC equal time rule for 2 other candidates, end of quote. Colbert on Tuesday said Tuesday night show called that claim, quote unquote, crap. Well, he's never been funny, in my opinion. He's just evil, actually. The Nuggets paying tribute to former head coach Doug Moe. His death was announced on Tuesday. Moe led the Nuggets from 1980 to 1990, winning a then franchise record 432 games as his banner hangs at the arena. He also led the Nugs to the playoffs 9 times, including an appearance in the Western Conference Finals in 1985. Nuggets called Moe a one-of-a-kind leader and a person, adding that he will always be loved and remembered by the team's fans. There is no question about that. He is absolutely one of the fan favorites in Denver sports history. Planning is underway in Chicago to honor the life of the late Reverend Jesse Jackson. The civil rights icon died Tuesday at the age of 84 also. The Vatican says it will not participate in DJT's Board of Peace. The peace initiative, started by 47 last month, is designed to oversee the rebuilding of Gaza and to resolve other global conflicts with Trump as chairman. All right. Olympics continue, and the men's hockey team will take on Sweden today in the quarterfinals. 40 in the Springs, 39 in Denver. That is the latest. I'm Blake Olson. More of the Jeff and Bill Show ahead on News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver, now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. We are the Jeff and Bill Show.
Wave number 1 came through Colorado yesterday, bringing high winds, mountain snow, and rain, snow showers, and strong gusty winds to the Front Range. We're going to be looking at gusty winds today as wave number 2 approaches. Now, wave number 2 is not going to have nearly the intensity of the wind, but it will bring another dose of wind and snow to the high country where avalanche dangers are on the rise. There will be a chance later today and tonight for Denver and Colorado Springs to see a few snow showers that can linger into Friday. Snow is not expected to be significant, but some snow showers will be possible, and you're going to notice it getting much colder. Highs today with increasing clouds and a few rain or snow showers will be low to mid-50s for Denver and Colorado Springs. Tonight, colder. Few snow showers, lows low to mid-20s. Noticeably colder, only 30s Thursday and Friday. Colorado Springs and Denver, a few snow showers, lows teens. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Ready? 710 KNUS in Denver, Colorado.
And broadcasting from AM 1460 and FM 101.1 The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range. This is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you get both sides of an issue. All right. Billy, I'm excited for this one because you're like the music guy. You dive in and you do a whole bunch of FM radio. You love music. You love bands. You love concerts.
Oh, yeah.
But
Concerts make me.
But would you want every night of your home having to listen to sounds and concerts. When
Okay,
you
so my wife
bought the
listening?
house and then they built this around it, is it fair? Let's play track 1, John. This is what some of the residents in Colorado Springs are having to deal with on a nightly basis.
I'm only getting high tones. It's not
Well, golly. And it's a lot of bass. Well, joining us live in studios, Kane, he's one of many plaintiffs, along with his attorney, Julian Ellis, that have sued down here in Colorado Springs, the Ford Amphitheater. Are they the defendants? Is the city the defendants? But you're having to deal with this from the Ford Amphitheater. Who are the defendants in this case? Maybe, Julian, you can jump in here first.
Sure. So the defendants are the various entities that own and operate the Ford Amphitheater.
Okay. So Ford Amphitheater, how about the city? Is the city a plaintiff in that, or a defendant?
The city is not a defendant.
Okay, so
the theory is a state law theory, so it's very straightforward. And so the city's not a party to that.
Okay. So Ford Amphitheater and the people that operate the Ford Amphitheater here are the defendants in this. All right, Chris, tell us what is going on. Because some people text messaging just going, hey, man, why don't you just dance along with the music? It's a free concert every night.
And why don't you do, Chris? I want you to start out with first, give us the time in which you purchased your home in Colorado Springs,
Sure.
describe the neighborhood, and then tell us about when Ford Amphitheater was announced and what your life is like now.
Yeah, absolutely. So my wife and I purchased our home up north in 2001, and we've lived there since. We put in our roots, raised our family there, our 2 children, very tightly involved with our community HOA. My wife is an elementary school teacher for the district. I'm a rock climbing coach for local high school. And, we moved up north to settle into a really a close-knit neighborhood. That's what we were looking for in the Glen Eagle area, and also for the schools up there. When the amphitheater was announced, we really didn't even have any concerns. We're not complainers. We're not involved with social media things. We're just kind of average people. And when it was announced, we just figured, okay, this will be nice to have. It's actually close by. We enjoy going to concerts. I'm a huge hard rock fan. I'm a Tool fan.
Ooh,
so
yes, Danny Carey. Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of music. And we just expected that there would be guardrails in place. This was approved by the city. There's rules to follow. And we didn't have concerns. And really, all of that changed on the first concert night. We live about 1.25 miles north of the amphitheater at a higher elevation. So we're between 250 and 300 feet higher. And that's important to know because...
tell us why that's important because of how sound waves travel. So talk to us about why the fact that you're at a higher elevation when the amphitheater is down below you, what does that do to the sound coming out of the theater?
Well, it doesn't take a scientist to understand this at all. There's walls, and we hear a lot about the walls around the amphitheater. There are hundreds of homes, and we're all above the walls. So when you have a speaker that generates sound, there's no wall between us and the amphitheater. It just goes directly to us.
So the idea is, think about it like when you've got really bad blowing snow here in Colorado, and you stand behind maybe a 4-foot, 5-foot, or 6-foot privacy fence. There is still that snow that is blowing up and over the top of the fence. All of us that live here in Colorado and spent a couple of winters here have seen that. That's what's happening to the sound waves. Even though Ford Amphitheater has erected that fence, and I'm using that kind of in air quotes, all of those sound waves still, just like those snow flurries, go up and over the fence and then congregate beyond. Having the fence there doesn't stop that snow from building up in your backyard, does it? No. And it doesn't stop the sound waves either. Continue, please.
Yeah. That's exactly it. And we're just above the walls. I think a great example to share with folks is the Godsmack concert. It was a
love me
big
some
one,
Godsmack.
and I am a Godsmack fan as well. So in that concert, we had in our neighborhood at our house decibel readings up to 70 decibels. The legal allowable limit is 47. 45 at the state level. So this is not transient. This was 4 to 5 hours. It was in our home with windows closed, doors shut. We could not only hear the throbbing music, we heard the lyrics. Our family was subjected to the profanity in the lyrics and from the PA system in between songs. It was clearly audible. And this is common for, last year out of 27 concerts, there was only 3 that our neighborhood measured that were within compliance. So this is the norm of what we have to deal with. It may not sound terrible until you have to live it. My wife is an elementary school teacher, so she has to be in bed on weeknights at 8:30 in the evening to get up at 5. And she can't sleep. Even with air conditioning on, with noise-making machines, you can just feel it in the house, even if you don't hear the specific lyrics. And that affects not only her and her performance at a job, it affects the kids that she teaches. So it's very impactful.
And Bill, I should add that it's not
This is
just
Julian Ellis, by the way, with 1st and 14th Law.
Yeah, who is also the best dressed person in the room.
He's a lawyer.
Yeah, he's a lawyer.
it's not just the loss of sleep. I know some people have trivialized, they've called us the fun police, etc. But one of the plaintiffs in this case, her son is a level 3 autist, and they have to put noise-canceling headphones and, put this individual in an interior room just to prevent this individual from going into a manic state. Another plaintiff is a veteran who has PTSD. He has to physically leave his property during concerts, his home during concerts, in order to, to fight against the effects of the noise. And it is not a debatable issue that amplified noise and noise pollution causes psychological and physiological harm. I mean, in 1971, the General Assembly of this state said, this is a problem. It causes harm to people, wildlife that call Coloradans home. And the research is only compounded in the 50, 60 years since then. The World Health Organization, CDC, everyone is uniform on this. And so the question is, what happens when you can't escape that noise?
Yeah. What if it has been planted inside of your neighborhood? Ford Amphitheater, as our guest, that was Julian Ellis, and then Chris Kane, who's a plaintiff in this. They bought their house well before Ford Amphitheater was built. So this was not a choice they were able to make based on where they raised their family. This was a choice that the developers made to change where they were raising their family. Now, we talked about the idea that Chris said that the Godsmack concert was hitting right around 70 decibels. That is basically standing by the freeway during a busy hour or getting inside of a busy bar. And even better, and Chris will love this one, standing inside of elementary cafeteria during lunchtime. That's going to hit about 70 decibels, if not higher. So that's what you're dealing with. And it's not the idea of standing next to that highway for a few minutes. It's being there for 3 or 4 hours. What is that constant noise level do to you, do to the family, and more importantly, what would it do if that was the noise you heard after you closed all the doors and windows inside of your house and everything was still that loud? This is an issue, even though I love the music.
And to give you a perspective of the change,
yeah, please.
A 3 decibel change is 1,000% increase or decrease in the sound level.
Oof.
3 decibels. So if the level is 45 decibels, and you're feeling, a 10% change is, or a 10 decibel change is 1,000. A 3 decibel change is 100%. So if you're talking about a 45 decibel limit and you're going to 70 decibels, you're talking about 10,000 10,000% increase.
We are getting some questions. Brad from Parker, when was the zoning for the amphitheater approved? I ask this because if it was zoned for this, then blame the real estate agents for not highlighting this.
So it's not a zoning issue. In 1971, the General Assembly recognized noise pollution as a danger and an environmental pollutant and decided to regulate it and impose minimum baselines that all Coloradans enjoy. And so, the cities and localities, they can't vary from this. And so that's our lawsuit is under that state act. And that is the minimum protections that we all enjoy as Coloradans. And so this is not a zoning issue. This is not a city issue. This is a state environmental issue.
Let's talk what you guys are seeking to get from Ford Amphitheater. Is it financial justice? Is it changes to the concert? Why don't you just move, Chris?
Sure. And a lot of people have moved.
Yeah.
Some of our neighbors. So we're not seeking anything in damages. We're just seeking that what was promised in the project documentation that was approved by City Council and the City Government of Colorado Springs for the venue, that they hold to those numbers that they put into that plan, which was not going over the high 40s. I believe it was 47 decibels in the plan, and hold them to that. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking for the venue to be shut down. Again, we do enjoy music and concerts. We also have a right to have peace in our home. I'll share from a personal standpoint. One of our children suffers from anxiety and depression, and that's a serious thing for teenagers in this day and age. We've had to move them into the basement because of the inability to sleep, to study, and to escape the noise during the concerts in our home. And, our kids are champions, but they don't deserve that.
What's been the response from Ford Amphitheater? It seems reasonable what you're asking. If this is what was approved by the community and granting them the ability to develop this, well, then live by those standards. What's the problem here?
Well, I can say a couple things. Over the last year, we've been told that they're going to be a good neighbor and that they're going to tune things and manage the sound, and quite honestly, the exact opposite has been our experience.
Oh, so your personal experience is it feels like that the decibel level is going up.
It doesn't feel, it's measured.
Okay,
so
because I have no idea.
We have
wow.
measurement for every concert, multiple areas throughout the neighborhoods, and clear evidence.
And keep in mind, during the approval process, I think one of your callers asked about the city process. During that approval process, the promoters of the concert assured the city government that it could operationally turn it down. And, you asked Jeff, what are the requested relief? Again, we are not asking for damages. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. We're just asking them to turn it down. They said they would hold it to 47 decibels. They could operationally turn it down if it exceeded that. We're just asking them to turn it down.
And they said they're going to be a good neighbor. So, what's the problem here? I don't understand why Ford won't abide by this. I mean, you guys have made the request. They said they'll do it. Are they just not doing it?
No.
Wow. There you go.
I got a question on this, just out of curiosity. If Ford, for whatever reason, came back and said, we want to keep the audio experience where it is inside of the theater, but we want to build more sound-reducing barriers, etc., maybe even bringing up a taller wall, getting the wall to be, let's just be ridiculous. Let's say 5-6 stories. Is that something that you would be willing to listen to? Or, and where I'm going with this is, has trust, based on the conversations with Ford Theater and the operators, been so eroded that even if they came to you with what seemed like maybe a reasonable compromise, you don't trust them to be honest brokers?
Well, at this point, it's in the court's hands. We have gone through, the process before the city. There's been other cases, and this was kind of a last line of defense. No one likes to run off to and invoke the judicial process
I'm gonna
first.
sue you.
So this was last line of defense, and so it is going. The State Noise Abatement Act provides that the remedy is abatement. How that is done is going to be subject to judicial discretion.
Now, I was reading here just for a second. I'm sorry, Jeff. I saw to interrupt. The developer. I lost the name. Who is it? Venue is the name of the developer. They have different planned construction all over the country. What I was reading is one of which is an indoor venue they have planned for Colorado Springs. Does the not Colorado Springs, for Centennial, the indoor venue down in Centennial, does the fact that they want to expand inside of Colorado help or hurt this court action, in your opinion? Do you think this maybe gives you a little more leverage against their further development in Centennial, or is it just a wash? Does it not matter? Doesn't matter at all.
No, I think if anything, it shows that this is not just a Colorado Springs issue. This is not just a North Colorado Springs issue. This is not just a Ford Amphitheater issue. This is a statewide issue. And if you're in Parker, or you're in Jefferson County, or you're in Longmont, or perhaps you're in Telluride or Steamboat or Vail, a concert venue could be coming to a neighborhood near you. And so I think there is concern out there statewide. In particular, we have talked to environmental groups about, kind of eroding a protection that has existed in the law for a long, long time. And so if this becomes, a profitable business model, of course, economics are going to compel the replication of that in other markets.
We do have text messages hot on this one. 6464 wants to know how this compares to Red Rocks or Fiddlers. What are some of the issues there?
Well, I'll note first that the ownership structure of Red Rocks and Fiddlers is different. Red Rocks is owned by the city of Denver, and so under the Noise Abatement Act, it is actually exempt from the state standards, and that makes a lot of sense, right? There is a direct tie to the democratic process. If the city's erecting outdoor amphitheaters in the middle of neighborhoods, that's probably not going to be a good idea for them in the next election. Fiddlers was, most of around Fiddlers is commercial areas in the direct vicinity. It's also owned by a nonprofit, and the Madden family were very intentional in setting that up back in the 80s when they first built that, and it is to enhance outdoor arts and music. And so the difference is you've got someone who is a for-profit entity eager to appease shareholders and investors. With Ford Amphitheater, you've got a city government and a nonprofit with the others.
And the Ford Amphitheater built in a neighborhood setting, which is not the same with either Red Rocks or Fiddlers. And personal experience, I've been at Fiddlers shows when the act on stage announces their cutoff time. Some have actually said, hey, we're going to play an extra 4 minutes and we're going to pay this much in order to do it. We know the fine is coming. Some of them saying, hey, we were going to have an extra song here. We got to get off stage because of the rules that are here. We appreciate all of you. So they've both done it.
Exist.
Yeah, they exist. I've seen them enforced.
To some of our text messengers that may have joined the conversation later, the neighborhood was there first.
Yeah. The neighborhood was there first. It's not that they came in and
bought his home in 2001.
Yeah.
When was Ford Amphitheater open? 2020.
It's about 2 years old, 2, 3 years. Yeah, 2, 3 years. Yeah. So this is not a Bandemere case.
3 years after you've bought your home.
Yeah. This
comes the amphitheater, and I don't think it's fair to all the people that have invested in the community to just have to sit and take it.
Now, here's the thing. This is, for me, 180 degrees away from many of the complaints about Bandemere. Bandemere existed long before many of those housing developments came in and moved near Bandemere. Then the people in those homes started complaining about the noise. This is the exact opposite. This is where they were a neighborhood first, and then Ford Amphitheater came in. It's 180 degrees difference.
We'll talk more about this. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show on News Talk 710 Kane US in Denver.
And broadcasting on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you get to hear both sides. We are The Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And now on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range, this is the Jeff and Bill Show. We hear both sides of an issue. We're talking Ford Amphitheater in Colorado Springs. We're broadcasting down in the Springs, by the way.
Yeah.
We're on the stage at Ford Amphitheater.
No, I don't say that. I got it.
Good morning, Colorado Springs.
Well,
and all the neighbors are walking out going, what is going on?
Just saying that in younger Bill's life, that may be one of the reasons that I got to hang out in a police car for a while. Standing on concert stage, I shouldn't have been at late at night. Just saying. Sorry, Mom, you don't know about that one. Yes.
Well, the fine neighbors that live near Ford Amphitheater, who've been living there for 20 plus years, went through the whole approval process. Ford Amphitheater made commitments saying we're not going to break 45 decibels or whatever it is. And what they've been able to record and prove is that they're well above 90 in some cases. And it's disrupting their lives. This is not fair to the people that live there. And yeah, you can move on, but could you imagine establishing a community, being in a neighborhood, getting your kids in school, and then a company comes in, builds, doesn't abide by the rules that they set up, and you're the one that's supposed to leave?
Let me bring this down a little bit closer to home. Let's talk about your neighborhood and look up and down the block. Think about that one house. You know the one I'm talking about. What happens if a bunch of college kids move in and they do what the college kids do, where they are throwing large parties several times a week? Loud music, people screaming and yelling. Sometimes the cars are an issue. How long would it take you to allow those college parties to continue in your neighborhood? They moved into your neighborhood. Now they're creating a noise disruption. How long would it take you and the rest of your family to not get a full night's sleep? How long would it take for you guys to hear all the screaming, yelling, and all of the naughty words just right down the block from these raging parties? In many ways, that's what's happened to these people in the neighborhood right around Ford Amphitheater. All of a sudden, this big, giant, regular occurring party moved into the neighborhood, and they're being accused of being the ones that don't want to have fun. No. Would you feel the same way if that was your neighborhood?
Great explanation, Bill. Chris Kane, plaintiff, and his attorney Julian Ellis join us live in studio down in Colorado Springs to discuss this. Now, guys, this isn't just a legal battle. Ford Amphitheater and others are exploring legislative changes. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so well, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, a new bill was introduced. And well, let me back up. So I was also the attorney for another case involving the city of Salida, and that went all the way up to the Colorado Supreme Court. It was actually argued down near Colorado Springs in District 49, go D49. And we prevailed in that case in September. And what the Colorado Supreme Court said is that localities can't vary from statewide environmental protections. Seems obvious, but it was a very technical legal question. The Colorado Supreme Court addressed it for the first time, 7-0, unanimous decision, and said that, you know, state standards, state protections are state protections. You can't vary from them, and that's where we are. So that is what allowed for this particular case. Not surprisingly, we will call it the proponent group has introduced legislation through several legislators. One of whom claims to be a progressive environmentalist, which is kind of interesting, to effectively reverse the Supreme Court's decision in Hobbs. And so what it would do is give localities the discretion to negate statewide protections.
And why does that matter in this case?
Well, in this case, the Ford Amphitheater could go to the city of Colorado Springs, which it has already done. It could ask for a permit to exceed statewide levels, and if this bill becomes law, Colorado Springs, if the city government decided that was good policy could say, yes, we will approve that, and it would be exempt from the statewide act. So the legislation's,
I mean, many conservatives would go, we like local control. The state's full of radical libs. So why wouldn't we want to give Colorado Springs, for instance,
and pollution
the
law's bad.
freedom?
Right. Well, like in no circumstance, air, water, do we have, local control over state environmental protections. You can imagine how that might work. It wouldn't work at all. It'd be a patchwork of exemptions, and you're not going to have any protections. The good news is the governor has been very consistent during his term in running on an environmental-based platform, and has made some positive changes, in my opinion, to the law. And I think this runs directly counter to the progress that we've made. I mean, just 2 sessions ago, the General Assembly adopted new protections for noise pollution, recognizing the harmful effect. And so I can imagine that, particularly our legislature, as it's currently composed, would look kindly on a bill that would effectively erode environmental protections that have been on the books since literally 1971.
Yeah, see, this is why I can never be elected to public office. Because when you talked about Julian Ellis from 1st and 14th, that is helping out the plaintiffs in this case, when you talked about the idea of legislation moving forward and that there are sponsors, especially some very progressive Democrat sponsors, this is exactly the point why I can't be elected, because I would get on the phone and I would get our other guest in the studio, Chris Kane, and I would issue a challenge to those lawmakers. Chris Kane and I are going to come out, and there, across the street from your house, 2 nights a week, we're going to set up speakers, and we're going to play Godsmack at 70 decibels. You tell us how long we can do that week after week in your neighborhood, and it's going to be fine with you. If it's okay that we can show up every weekend and set up that Godsmack concert right across the street from your house, go ahead, vote for the legislation. If not, shut your mouth.
Well, and
yes,
I
Chris.
think that's a really important point. Citizens are held to a different standard than corporations, is what I've learned. So if I were to do that, well, first thing I would expect the homeowner to come out and ask me to turn it down.
Yep.
That's what we've done. Second thing, the police would be called. Many homeowners have called the police on the Ford Amphitheater, and the police won't respond because of the waiver that they've been provided.
And you can't arrest the amphitheater.
How is it that corporations, which arguably have a wider impact, could do more good or do more harm than a single individual, are not held to the standards that I am as an individual? In my HOA, that's not even considering state law or city law.
Yeah.
So
you and I
that's
would,
a fundamental disconnect.
Your HOA would fine you immediately if we did the Godsmack concert in your neighborhood, and absolutely the lawmakers would call the police to have us turn down the music, but yet when they get inside the Golden Dome, they think it's okay to have that concert right down the street from you. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Even though I'm a music fan, there's part of me that, 20-year-old Bill, I'd be like, if I was buying my first home, I'd be like, but honey, right near the theater. And she's like, shut up. I'm like, but honey, concerts. And then she would hit me, and I would deserve it.
We're talking with folks that are facing Ford Amphitheater, the impact it's having on their neighborhood that it pre-existed. This is a reminder. They didn't just decide to move next to the amphitheater and then go, why is it so loud? They were there for 20 years, and then the amphitheater moved in. The amphitheater made promises they're not abiding by. So what do you do? We'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 along with FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you hear both sides. This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
710 KNUS in Denver.
And on AM 1460 along with FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs.
All along the Front Range. This is the Jeff and Bill Show, where you hear both sides of an issue. This morning we're talking Ford Amphitheater. Plaintiffs Chris Kane joining us along with his attorney Julian Ellis. The sound is way above what Ford agreed to.
Yep,
It's impacting their homes. They can't sleep at night. It's just about every night. I mean, definitely during the summers, right? Does this continue during the fall and winter?
30 to 50 nights starting in the spring into the fall.
30, 50. Now,
And it's going to be more.
Are you just like a handful of Karens in the neighborhood?
Yeah, just a no-fun group that got together.
It's
Just
too loud. Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's a good question. So, almost 1,000 people have signed a petition very early on regarding the noise waiver that they received. There's been 1,600 to 1,700 complaints filed with the city. And that's interesting, too, because the city website does not allow for addressed complaints outside of unincorporated El Paso County. Ooh. And the amphitheater is almost right on the line. So all of the neighborhoods to the north, we cannot file a complaint with our address with the city to formalize the impact to us.
Does the city manage all this? So the city manages it and you can't
That's
file
their
a
website.
complaint?
It's their website. Go Cause.
Wow. But here's something you should think about that, the listener to the Jeff and Bill Show, with what Chris Kane just outlined, is there's a portion of the neighborhood, a significant portion, that cannot complain, yet despite that, they've still amassed more than 1,600 to 1,700 complaints, even though everybody that has a complaint can't. So that is an outsized group that it really is saying this is a problem here. The fact of cutting off the entire neighborhoods and not complaining doesn't say, look, the complaints aren't that much. No. You got 1,600 to 1,700 of the people that are allowed to complain already complaining about this. This is ridiculous. But I like the music. Text
messages coming in, KJC, reminding us that speaking of annoying noises, Yoko Ono's 93 today.
It's a new single.
Get some inappropriate jokes going
Yes.
on the Jeff and Bill Show. Just a reminder, it could be worse. Yoko Ono could be playing
yes.
Ford Amphitheater.
Yeah. She could have a residency for 3 months, and oh my God.
All right, Chris Kane, Julian Ellis, fighting against Ford Amphitheater. Julian, as the attorney, you've been through a lot of these battles. Give us your projections. Where do you think this thing lands? I mean, do you think they're going to build a dome over Ford Amphitheater? Do you think they build a wall? Do you think they turn it down? Do you think they just get to tell you to go pound sand? Where does this go?
Well, operationally, I think there's a lot of technologies that they can use to lower the volume. Again, they kind of promised this out front. Certainly, they wouldn't have promised it if it wasn't operationally feasible. So, we live in a day and age that I'm ever amazed at the technological advances that are presented to us. I am positive they can find a way of both turning it down and minimizing the harmful environmental impact on the local residents. And we can still have our concerts, and the city can still enjoy the economic benefit that comes along with it. Like, we can have our cake and eat it too. It just takes a willing participant on the other side of the table to engage in that. So far, they've been unwilling to do it. Perhaps a legal action will help.
Hey, Chris, you and your neighbors are paying for this out of your own pocket, hiring legal to go after, so clearly it's worth it to you. What has happened to your neighborhood with all of these noises? Give us some insight.
Sure. We've had several of our neighbors move and leave early on. And actually, there's many in the process now that are trying to sell their homes.
How are they doing with that?
They haven't sold yet. Wow. And that could be for various reasons, of course, but there's hope that we will get to a agreeable middle ground to where, quite arguably, the community, if it's respected, can become one of the greatest fans of the venue. And it could be something for our families and for our visitors and so forth. But Absolutely not at this point. There's.
Now, Bill, I want to
no
ask
chance.
you. You're a music aficionado.
Oh, yeah. I've been to hundreds and hundreds of shows.
You're
Yeah.
kind of an independent in the midst of all this. What would be your advice to Ford Amphitheater?
Is make nice with the neighborhood, because they can be your biggest proponents, and figure this thing out. You don't want to be in this kind of a fight. The biggest question I've got is, why can't you erect larger sound barriers that would make you a better neighbor? If you need to maintain that outdoor amphitheater presence, you don't want to go indoor. I get that. But you've got to do something, because all of the speakers are facing towards the neighborhood. Anybody that has mic'd any sort of a large gathering understands the problem that is contained therein. So is this larger noise barriers, or is this even changing the angle and number of the speakers that are up on stage? Instead, maybe you're pushing them down further instead of just straight out into the crowd. Are there other ways in which how that sound bounces around the amphitheater? That's what I want to have a test. I would love to get an acoustic specialist to walk around that place and say, hey, when we're running noise, here's the places that it's leaking. We need to put up barriers here in order to stop X, Y, or Z. That would be in my advice. I think it is better for the Ford Amphitheater to be a better neighbor than it is to be an adversarial neighbor.
And just to add to the wall, I'm no expert by any means, but you can drive by yourself and see the lay of the land.
Yeah.
There's virtually no barriers on the north and south side. It all builds up to the east.
Yep.
And if you look at where a lot of the impact is, it's on the north side and on the east, because the sound does go over the existing walls. But there's nothing. And again, how do you solve the elevation? With all the homes hundreds of feet above the amphitheater, they would have to be really high walls.
Oh, yeah. Which, again, if you're going to be a nice neighbor and you want to have further development in the community and elsewhere around the state and the nation, you build really high walls. It seems to be something that would be reasonable in order to keep people happy in the neighborhood.
I just want everybody to understand that Bill just said, if you want to be a good neighbor, build a high wall. I've been working very hard for years on
I
this.
stepped in that one, didn't I? Nah, crap. Now I'm screwed.
Well, to the owners of Ford Amphitheater, you can call Bill Thorpe and his consulting line, 303-696-1971.
Yeah, please
He'd
call
be
me.
happy to figure this out.
I would be, for the price of free tickets. We can figure this thing out. So I'm just telling you,
Well, best of luck. Thank you for joining us on our inaugural broadcast down in Colorado Springs.
Yes,
to be able to talk about issues relevant to Colorado Springs. That was always one of the issues that pops up when you expand, you go syndicated. Are the listeners going to hear news that's relevant to them? Well, this not only affects residents here in Colorado Springs, but state law, your own neighborhood, what could be done. All of that's at stake in this case. We'll continue to follow it. Chris, Julian, thank you for your time this morning.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right, coming up, we're going to talk about another artist facing some challenges out there. Stephen Colbert.
Oh, Colbert.
And the FCC.
Yeah, all right.
Looking to kind of roll him back a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, are we going to fairness doctrine? Are we going to equal time? Is that something? Because fairness doctrine was something that was pushed back against during the rise of Rush Limbaugh. And now, all of a sudden, now it's a good idea. Huh.
Yeah. We'll
Interesting.
Plus, Mike Boyle's going to join us with some food. So much to talk about. Yes.
I'm leaving it right now. Sorry.
Mike's got it. Because, Mike broadcasts down here as well. Does this show.
Yes.
So, man, Salem's just popping off these days. Doing great. Mike will be joining us. We'll talk Stephen Colbert and the FCC. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS in Denver.
And broadcasting on AM 1460 and FM 101.1, The Answer in Colorado Springs. This is where you get to hear both sides and sometimes some stories about concerts. All right, we are The Jeff and Bill Show. We'll be right back.